Hello there, welcome to Sentienz demo series. Today we'll be watching the demo on Sentienz Arcmesh, which is our state-based web scale monitoring platform. So if you're from the IT industry, you'd pretty much understand how complex or challenging monitoring has become these days with the advent of IoT and cloud-based technologies. So these technologies essentially bring in a diverse set of devices and associated metrics. So choosing the right monitoring platform has become a real challenge because there's no one single tool which basically solves all your monitoring needs. So in that essence, Sentienz Arcmesh has been designed ground up to be really scalable, fast, and user-friendly, right? Okay, so this is a login console. So wherein it uses a very fundamental authentication and authorization mechanism. You set in various different roles, and also you define what each of the roles can do on the platform, right? So let's log in as the administrator. So as soon as you log in, you will land up at the dashboard, which gives you a summary view of your cluster, right? So if you look at it, the summary dashboard essentially gives you a picture about the number of nodes that are in normal state, the number of nodes that are in warning state, and the nodes that are in critical state, right? And there are a few dead nodes as well. And it gives you a summary of your key metrics like your CPU utilization, memory, disk, and network, right? And the block that you see here is a basic state representation of your cluster. So as I said, Sentienz Arcmesh is a state-based monitoring platform. So when you actually dig deep into your monitoring needs, you'll realize that you essentially want to understand the state of your system more than anything else, right? So having a direct view of the state of your platform solves half of your problems. So that is our belief, and it comes with our experience with monitoring thousands of millions of nodes in large data centers, right? So you see a basic summary view here, and you see some nodes are in green and some are in amber and some are in red. So the green ones are the ones which are basically normal, and the amber ones are the ones which are in warning state, and the red ones are in the critical state, right? So you would want to know basically which is the contributing metric to your critical state, right? So you basically view it on your different metrics like CPU or memory. So CPU looked fine and memory looks like few nodes are in warning state. Yep, so your disks are basically hot, right? So there's something to do with I think they're running out of space, or your inodes are exhausted, right? So it could be one of those issues. We'll basically drill down into the details later. So we'll basically see the different views as well, and the network seems to be pretty okay, and then your IOPS are fine. Alright, so let's go back to the summary view. So, and then you could as well drill down into the different state views, right? So you just want to see all the nodes that are normal, or you want to see the nodes that are in warning state, or you just want to see the nodes that are in critical state, right? So you could do that as well. And right, so if you just scroll down, you'd see a panel where you see all the snooze nodes. So when I say snooze node, right, so there are situations in your cluster when there's a badly behaving node which has to be taken out of rotation, right? And it raises a lot of noisy alerts within your monitoring tool. So those nodes could be potentially put into a snooze mode, and any any critical states or any kind of warnings or alerts on these nodes are basically suppressed. So you don't get these floods of alerts, right? So that's a pretty good feature that we found pretty useful in most of our cases in a day-to-day work, right? Okay, so coming back to the views, right? So there are times when you want to basically drill down into um, identifying patterns or failure situations within your cluster, right? So just to give an example, we had a couple of switch failures in our data center, and they caused one-way network failures, right? So nodes from a network A were able to talk to nodes on a network B, but the vice versa was not working. So it was pretty difficult for our monitoring tools to pick up that kind of a failure, right? So they just reported that a random set of nodes have failed or are not responding, right? So to basically isolate these kind of problems, you can cluster these nodes into different groups, right? Either by their application IDs or group IDs or security IDs. So that gives you a good perspective into which group of nodes have died. So you basically cluster them by subnets, right? You get to know if a specific subnet has basically collapsed, right? So all those nodes become dead or they're in the critical state, right? So that eases your debugging efforts, right? Okay, so let's get back to the normal view now. And okay, so assuming you want to drill down into a specific node which has been in the red state for quite some time, you select the node and click on it, and the summary tab comes up, right? So here you'll be able to see what are the states of each of your resources on that node. So if you look at it, so your disk and inodes are in red essentially, and others seems to be normal, right? And if you go into the profile tab, you get to see the process count, your thread count, and open file descriptor counts, your network sessions. So these are some very critical parameters that you would want to monitor on a regular basis, right? So even these parameters could cause system failure. So assuming your file count has crossed or breached the thresholds, so there could be a potential process failure, right? So it becomes ever more essential to monitor these parameters as well, right? So yeah, now if you want to basically drill down into this node and see the status in real time, you could click on the details and it pops up the details page for you for that specific node. So here you will see in real time the utilization status of each of your resources, your CPU, memory, disk, or network, right? So the CPU seems to be pretty high utilization, and then your memory, your disk utilization, and then your network statistics. So if you want to drill down into more details on the utilization of your individual cores, that as well can be done with this tab, right? And you could see your memory status, your disk status, your network status, the inodes or IOPS. And if you see, there's a tab for services as well. So if you have defined services monitoring for this specific node, you will be able to see the service status here. So like the number of threads that got spawned, or the heap memory utilization, or your specific CPU utilization, your open file count for the specific process. So all this could be monitored in this tab here if you define the process, right? So assuming you want to monitor Apache or Tomcat or your WebLogic servers or even your databases, you basically define the process name or the port on which these processes run, and Arcmesh will start monitoring them for you, right? So this is your details page, and there's another simple utility that has been packed with this page is a terminal utility, right? So it gives you a flexibility to launch a quick shell and do any kind of fix um, commands on the server, maybe to pull it out of a critical state, or you want to basically kill a rogue process. You could pretty much do it here, right? So we have enabled a very basic set of commands, and these could be extended to your specific needs, right? So enable or disable the commands that you would want to run through this console, right? So assuming you're stuck in traffic or you're not at your workplace, and you want to log in from your mobile and fix something, so that's pretty much possible here, right? So yep, this is your details page, and you want to do some kind of a historic trend analysis, or view how a specific node has been performing in the past few days or the past few months, or a specific group. So you could pretty much do that here, right? So this is your historic view. So you select a range that you would want to see, and it will plot the charts for you, right? So right now we have enabled CPU, memory, and disk graphs. You can extend it to your file handles, your network, your open network sessions, or any of those configured resources, right? Or your JVM, heap memory, etc. Right? So right now it is showing a node view for a specific node, right? So you could filter down on say your applications. Say you want to view a specific app ID, or you want to go into a specific subnet, right? So you want to see subnet 109 and how it has been performing, right? How it has been utilized. So you could do different drill downs and filters on your historic analysis, identify trends, and that could help you solve or debug a lot of problems, right? So finding out your overall utilizations or your availability and stuff like that, right? So and these are some very basic visualization techniques, and assuming you would want to do even more deeper analysis, trend analysis, or availability reports, or utilization reports, we have Kibana integrated into our platform, wherein you could get into Kibana and create your own visualizations, right? So the possibilities are unlimited here, and yeah, so maybe creating availability reports specific to nodes or your applications or your groups. So it all becomes straightforward and easy, right? So our consultants could help you build dashboards for you, or you could very well create your own dashboards, right? Okay. So coming back to the most critical part of our tool is our metadata management. So here is where you define your nodes and their related configurations, right? So you could very well add a node here, you could export all the nodes, or you could import a list of nodes via a comma separated value file, right? And you basically configure your instance types, availability zones. So these are the parameters that we used while you're basically drilling down or grouping by your metrics, right? And the service configuration that I was talking about, so you basically define each of the services and the ports on which they run, their JMX ports, their commands. So these will be used by Arcmesh agents to pull out metrics for each of these processes on the nodes, right? And then the other critical part is alert settings, right? So your alert management has to be pretty sophisticated, in the sense that you would want to raise alerts for a group or an individual device, and time based, right? And you want to do some kind of an automatic action. So we have this action script facility here, and assuming you want to say that when memory is in red state for say 5 minutes, right? So for over 300 seconds you would want to basically raise an alert, right? And in other cases you want to kill the process which has been using more memory, so you could even define that script and run that, right? So it pretty much covers most of the practical scenarios that one would need in your day-to-day monitoring needs here, right? Okay, coming back to your master configuration. So here you configure the master master's parameters, right? You would define your monitoring frequencies, your different type of checks, your cluster name or your mesh name. So things like this can be configured here, and the metadata store management configuration, and your history server configuration, and your mail server configuration. So all that can be configured here. And then configuring users, you want to add a new user, add a new role to the user. So all that can be done here, right? So this is your settings console. Okay, and there's this other feature wherein you basically see all the alerts on your platform. So if you look at it, these are all the alerts that have been raised on your platform. So you could basically view them and act on them, right? So we're kind of working on auto healing features and anomaly detection consoles, wherein you could basically define various anomalies and actions around those anomalies, and auto healing of your cluster, right? So these are some of the upcoming features, and we'll keep you posted. And this is it for Arcmesh. Thanks for watching, and I am Raj Velu from Sentienz Solutions. Have a great day.